Hello and welcome to my graphics project. Okay, so the key feature of my project is the random light. So the position, the spectral and diffuse intensity, and the ambient lighting will all go through twice because I found that it looks just better if I do it twice. Double the lighting, double goodness, I guess. But yeah, whenever you run it, it will randomize. I'll show you how it happens in a second after I prove that this is true, I guess. So yeah, blue lighting, it looks pretty nice. And then I will do it again, and it should not be blue, it should be a different colour. Because of it randoms, I'll do it 3 times just to prove there's nothing weird going on. Yeah, purple. And then again. Once it loads, yeah, orangey brown, I'm colourblind, so yeah. So in the Fragment Shader, it calculates light position, the ambient light intensity, and the diffuse and specular light intensity. This here will then randomize the variables that are used to declare that using time. So you'll get 3 completely different random variables between 0 and 1 because of anything higher than that and it gets too bright. And you want to have clear colours that aren't just a blinding light, of course. To get more interesting results, the diffuse and specular light, the ambient light, and the position of the light are all calculated twice. I found out it gives more interesting results than if it was calculated at once. So yeah, I just experimented around of how much lights I should put, I guess, and yeah, this seems to be the best result when it comes to getting a lot of varied lights. Okay, so something I've done interesting with the textures is that there's 2 textures basically loaded on top of each other. Like, it's not quite like that, but that's what it appears like. There's the package for a chocolate, which is a PNG, so that of course allows it to have transparency. And there's the actual top chocolate texture, which has no transparency, which is a JPEG. So in practice, what it looks like is that there's the wrapper above the chocolate. So yeah, the chocolate wrapper there and the chocolate bar, they're completely different textures, and I'll show you how I do that now. First, we bind the textures, so we bind text 1, which will later on be declared as the chocolate. We bind that to 0, and we bind the wrapper to 1, which we'll bind text 2 to 1, which is declared as the wrapper. Basically, when calculating what texture it should do, what it does is, we got a mix of text color 1 and text color 2, and then text color 2 is the alpha. So what we'll do is, if there's nothing, no pixels, I guess, of the texture for text color 2, which is the wrapper, which has transparency, so basically if there's transparency and not image, then it will load the first thing, which will be texture 1, which is the chocolate bar. So what essentially it does is, if there's no image with transparency, it will load the first image, but if not, it will load the second image, which is the wrapper. So we are left with the result of a chocolate bar coming out of its wrapper. The chocolate and chocolate package are loaded in, and then applied, binded to it. Okay, let's get into what model I use, what shading model I use. My project uses a Blin Fong reflection model in its shaders. With the Blin Fong model, there's a lot of things we have to consider, of course. So first, of course, we mix the textures. That's how you get the textures. But then we calculate the ambient lighting. Calculate this with Col, which is a mixture of the 2 textures, and LA, which is ambient light intensity. Because of course, the intensity of the ambient light is quite important when calculating the ambient light. We calculate the S vector next, which is the position of light position, and Col again, because it's important. It's the mixture of the textures, which is what's being highlighted across the models, most of the models anyway. S.n, the float of S.n is dot product of S and N. Diffuse is Col times the dot product of S and N. Specular, we just put it as 1. The course spec that's what all there is for specular. It's if dot product is higher than 0, then there'll be a complete different calculation with it. It will be the specular reflectivity times the power of max dot h and n, the dot product of h and n, yeah, 0, and then shininess. In this calculation, v is normalization of minus position, the positions of minus position, and h is normalization of v plus s. The whole Blin-Fong model returns ambient plus L, which is, of course, diffuse and specular light intensity, times diffuse plus specular. This all comes together in the frag color, which is a vector 4 of the Blin-Fong position, normalization of normal, and 1 because of the vector 4, so you need 4 things. What a lot of shaders, shading models will utilize the vertex instead of the fragment shader. This one isn't. I think the Fong model will have much more in vertex than fragment, but no, the Blin-Fong one will focus on fragment. So this is what we do with vertex. So yeah, we establish a lot of things. We make normal, which is of course used again here. That is and that is outward, so it's sent out, so that's how this gets it. Yeah, normal is normalization of normal matrix times vertex matrix, normal, vertex normal. Position is model view matrix times the vector 4, which is vertex position and 1. Vertex position is a vector 3, and then there's a 1, so vector 4. GL position is MVP times vector 4, vertex position and 1. Again, vertex position is a vector 3, and that would be 1 vector, I guess. Text chord equals vertex text chord. And then yeah, we establish some things. We set up some uniforms, and yeah, we put a location of vertex position, vertex normal, and vertex text chord. So that's all shaders. Let's have a look at the objects in CBasic uniform. Well, not just the objects, of course. A lot happens here, of course. First, we include some stuff quite important, like the time that's used for the randomization, because the randomization gets a random number using time. First, we load the meshes, and if you look in header, that's where we announce them essentially. Unique object, mesh 2, mesh 3, mesh 4, mesh 5, and those are all used here. They're all loaded here as the bar, pig bar box. The bar is just the truck. It was originally going to be a chocolate bar, but it didn't look as good, so I changed it to a truck, and I haven't changed the object name. It's a bit confusing, but yeah. And then mesh 4, mesh 5 are just the pig again. The pig that initialize the scene, quite an important thing. So this is where we do the randomization and we set up the lights. It's where we load the textures of chocolate and chocolate package. Let's talk a little bit about GLAD. GLAD is the program which allows us to load a specific loader, depending on what. Like, we can use GLAD here to develop for a specific language. Yeah, it's version of the API, the extensions. Basically, it's custom. Like, we do OpenGL, of course. But yeah, it's good, and a better alternative to GLEW. And yeah, here's us including it. Here's where we establish our cube, which we will use here. Yeah, so cube.render. We will render the meshes as well, but yeah, after rendering the meshes, we render the cube. With each object, we have to set uniforms for all the material-related stuff, which is, of course, the ambient reflectivity, diffuse reflectivity, specular reflectivity, and specular shininess. So yeah, we establish that. Yeah, we translate the model, so put its location. Here we can move them around, but it's good as it is. with also with the pigs specifically, we rotate them. Like we could not, but it looks slightly better. Like the positioning. So yeah, we rotate them with the rotate thing, and then we render them, of course. Yeah, whenever it calculates the texture, well, not texture, but like the material for an object, it will go through there, and yeah, it'll use these equations to calculate what needs output for the object. So I made two of these models. Well, there's three models in the thing. One of them is a pig, but that was provided in a lab, so that's not. I like the model, so I use that because it's. But I also did create two separate models for it, which is a truck. Yes, I made it in Blender, and then I got a box full of chocolates, which I also made in Blender. This is a template. This one was built upon a template that was given to me from university, so a lot of it is from that template. But yeah, a lot of it is also my own. The code has a lot of my own things in it, but it's also a lot of what I learnt in labs and lectures. So yeah, it's all learnt from the university other than the randomization. The rest of it is things I learnt in university and I implemented into it. So yeah. And yeah, that's my project. It loads some objects. It's nothing like groundbreaking, but it has a light, two light sources in it, ambient lights, and yeah, it's randomized to give you a new lighting experience each time. Very fancy, and yeah, loads of few models. Gets some textures and it layers them on top of each other for chocolate, and yeah, pretty cool, I think. So yeah, thank you for listening.